Well, this comes as some of the president's most loyal allies in Congress aren't satisfied with the amount of information shared about files on Epstein, an accused sex trafficker. Time now for The Exchange. Joining us is Republican strategist and founder of Blue Stack Strategies, Maura Gillespie. Maura, it's good to see you. So if people are getting whiplash now hearing the president saying that the Epstein files have all been perpetrated now by the Democrats, I'd like to remind viewers of what really happened and how this actually became a problem for the president, put very succinctly by Mark Short this morning. He was on CNN, and he, of course, was the former chief of staff to former Vice President Pence during Trump's first term. Here's how he laid it out.
Last year itself, during the campaign cycle, your now Attorney General, your FBI Director, your Deputy FBI Director, your Vice President all proclaimed that there's a lot of nefarious information in those files, and they're going to make sure that they're released. And then you come into office and you say, I have the files on my desk. And then you say that we've had an issue that released the files to a group of social media influencers. And then your narrative becomes actually there are no files. And yet now the narrative is that the files were created by Comey, Obama, and Hillary. I think it's quite a remarkable narrative arc.
And that is the actual narrative arc. How much of a problem is this for the president and the Republican Party and his base right now?
It's actually a big problem because it's this idea of Trump can usually get away with it, right? He can usually convince his supporters that it's a hoax. It was his last line just a few minutes ago. He said, it's a hoax, the hoax, the hoax. And that usually works, but it's not sticking. And now by calling everyone who is questioning him childish and stupid people, I don't think that's going to sit well. I don't know how much abuse that his supporters can take, but this is clearly someone who is very angry, very defiant, and frustrated that his attempts to push the blame off on Clinton and Obama didn't work. So now he's just going to double down on defiance and disparaging, which is an unfortunate thing because Republicans in Congress are stuck kind of in the middle there trying to decide, who do they align with? Do they ask for more transparency, which is what they all campaigned on and what they told their constituents they were fighting for, or do they stand behind the president no matter what he says and does? And so I think that that's what you're seeing play out right now it's a real problem. But I will say too, I think that for Republicans talking about it, right, you had Speaker Mike Johnson talk to reporters in an interview yesterday. Republicans talking about this, that's a problem for Trump. When Democrats, take this up and want to focus on it so heavily, that actually benefits Trump. So it's probably better for them to focus more so on the big beautiful bill they don't like. The polling there seems to be in their favor. If I were a Democratic strategist, I wouldn't tell them to focus on this. I think Republicans talking about it is the actual problem for the president.
Yeah, absolutely. And when obviously over the past sort of 8 years or 10 years almost, we've gotten to know President Trump quite well. One of the strategies that he employs when he's cornered or when there are headlines that he doesn't like is the sort of tried and true strategy of deflecting, of coming up with sort of other headlines for the media to talk about. How likely is it that Donald Trump is going to, in the coming days and months, employ that strategy, i.e. make news for other reasons, something outlandish that we might see in the press, for example, and that just being a strategy to get everybody to stop talking about Epstein?
I would expect that to happen. If it doesn't happen today, it will happen by tomorrow. I truly believe that he has seen that work in his favor, but he also likes being part of the news cycle when it serves him well. He enjoys kind of riling it up and seeing how much control he can have over the media and what they talk about from 1 minute to the next. He likes to play the stock market, right? He likes to say that, again, with the whole tariff deadline moving from April to July to August, he's playing with things because he knows that he has that kind of power and that control. And I think that it then becomes incumbent upon members of Congress, those in leadership, to take the step back and to not necessarily feed into that because it's going to be really important. And the media as well, not just necessarily always feed into his attempts, because I do think that you're going to have some of those in the MAGA base that he is now calling stupid people get very upset about this. I don't think they're going to let this go because so much of the campaign focused on the Department of Justice being, Trump constantly said it was being weaponized. Well, then what is happening now? Is he now weaponizing it by concealing the truth? And so for many in MAGA, that's how they feel. They feel that's what's happening right now.
Perhaps maybe that's why the president, though he's repeatedly bashed Fed Chair Jay Powell in the past, all of a sudden, as there's more pressure on him about Epstein, come more reports perhaps of firing Jay Powell. That is quite a deflection. And again, this is something the president has spoken out against on in the past, but it is worthy of considering, as we know that this is one of his tactics as well. Mara Gillespie, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.